Greenland is the world's largest island, stretching wider than Mexico. Yet its true scale is distorted on most maps, and its surface hides a secret. Almost all of it is buried under an ice sheet so thick it could drown coastal cities worldwide in 7 meters of water. Beneath that frozen shield, the actual land sits pressed hundreds of meters below sea level by the sheer weight of the ice. Why is this place so out of step with every expectation? And what does its hidden geography reveal about our shared future? The realities you think you know about Greenland are about to be flipped upside down. On a typical classroom map, Greenland sprawls across the North Atlantic, rivaling continents in size. The reason is not geography, it is geometry. Most maps you have seen use the Mercator projection, a design dating back to 1569 that was created for navigation. Mercator's trick is to keep compass bearings straight, but it comes at a price. As you move north or south from the equator, land masses appear more and more bloated. By the time you reach Greenland's latitude, the map stretches its area by more than 11 times. That is why Greenland often looks as big as Africa, when in truth, Africa is about 14 times larger. Greenland covers around 2.16 million square kilometers. Huge by any measure, but Africa swallows nearly 30.4 million square kilometers. On an equal area map, Greenland shrinks to a mid-sized patch, closer in size to Mexico or the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yet even after correcting for the illusion, Greenland remains a genuine giant, larger than Mexico, Saudi Arabia, and nearly all of Western Europe combined. The world's largest island is both a cartographic exaggeration and an authentic expanse, caught between the lines of navigation and the facts of the Earth. Beneath Greenland's surface lies a frozen world on a staggering scale. The Greenland ice sheet covers about 1.71 million square kilometers, close to 80% of the entire island. In some places, the ice towers more than 3 kilometers thick, pressing down on the land with the weight of trillions of tons. Scientists like Dr. Dorte Dahl Jensen have spent seasons drilling deep into this ancient ice, extracting cores that read like the planet's own diary. Each layer holds secrets of ancient storms, volcanic eruptions, and warm periods that shaped the Arctic long before human memory. The total volume of ice is immense, roughly 2.85 million cubic kilometers. Locked inside is enough frozen water to raise global sea levels by about 7.4 meters if it ever melted away. That is enough to drown vast stretches of coastline, from Miami to Shanghai to the Thames in London. This frozen mass is not just a local feature, it is a global lever holding back waters that would reshape the map of the world. In the lab, ice cores reveal bands and bubbles, marking out centuries and millennia of climate swings. The Greenland ice sheet is not just a remnant of the last ice age, it is an active force, storing and releasing water on a scale that connects the fate of this remote island to every shore on Earth. Greenland's shape is not just defined by ice on the surface, but by what lies beneath. The weight of the ice sheet, trillions of tons pressing down for tens of thousands of years, has pushed the island's bedrock deep below sea level. High-resolution maps from the Geological Survey of Denmark and Greenland show that large swaths of central Greenland would sit underwater if the ice vanished in an instant. The land forms a vast, shallow basin, ringed by mountains that now mark the coastline. In places, the bedrock drops more than a kilometre below today's sea level, connected to the ocean by deep troughs and fjords. This sunken landscape is not permanent. Remove the ice, and the crust starts to rise, a slow-motion rebound that unfolds over thousands of years. The Earth's mantle, flowing like thick syrup, pushes the land back up as the weight lifts. GPS networks already measure uplift around the island's edges, where the ice is thinning fastest. Over millennia, the central basin would gradually rise, reshaping the coastline yet again. A GUS geologist once described Greenland's hidden topography as a bowl pressed down by a giant hand. The Bed Machine version 4 digital elevation model reveals the full scale of this depression, a land that is neither truly above nor below the sea, but always in motion, shaped by the ebb and flow of ancient ice. At the edge of Greenland's west coast, a glacier known as Jakobshavn Isbrae powers forward with relentless force. This single glacier moves at astonishing speeds, sometimes more than 40 metres in a single day, driving a conveyor belt of ice straight into the sea. Each year, Jakobshavn releases about 46 cubic kilometres of ice, breaking off in thunderous calving events that send massive icebergs tumbling into Ilulissat Icefjord. Some of these icebergs are as tall as city skyscrapers, their bulk hidden beneath the waterline, jammed together in the fjord until currents finally pull them into open ocean. Once adrift, these frozen giants join the Labrador Current, drifting southward and sometimes travelling thousands of kilometres. In April 1912, one such iceberg, almost certainly carved from a Greenland glacier, entered the North Atlantic shipping lanes and collided with the Titanic. Today, the same process continues, a glacier in constant motion producing more icebergs than anywhere else in the Northern Hemisphere. For scientists stationed near the calving front, the sound is unforgettable, a deep cracking roar that shakes the air and water, a reminder that Greenland's ice is always on the move, shaping not only its own coastline, but the fate of ships and cities far beyond. Along Greenland's jagged coastline, a handful of small settlements hug the rocky shore, separated by hundreds of kilometres of wilderness. The entire island, stretching over 2 million square kilometres, holds a population of just 56,000 people. That's fewer people than live in a single neighbourhood of a major city, scattered across a landmass larger than Mexico. The math is stark. For every square kilometre, there are only about 0.026 people. In practical terms, that means one person for nearly 40 square kilometres of land. Most communities are little more than clusters of colourful houses perched above the water, often with fewer than 1,000 residents. Inuyuk, the capital, stands out as the exception. With about 19,000 people, it is home to more than a third of Greenland's population. Yet even in Nuuk, the sense of isolation is inescapable. No roads link Nuuk to any other town. To visit family in another settlement or to reach a hospital, residents must travel by boat, small plane, helicopter, or in some regions, by dog sled over the sea ice. The vast interior is empty, uninhabited, unbroken ice, so life clings to the edge, shaped by the rhythms of the sea and the limits of connection. In this thinly peopled world, every journey is a reminder of just how immense and solitary Greenland truly is. North of the Arctic Circle, the rules of day and night lose their grip. In Qaanaaq, a small settlement at nearly 77 degrees north, the sun circles high above the horizon for weeks on end each summer, refusing to set. Children play outside at midnight. The sea glows with a low, endless light, and sleep becomes a matter of choice rather than necessity. Then, as autumn deepens, the balance tips. By late October, darkness arrives and settles in for more than 4 months. The sun vanishes, leaving only faint twilight at noon and the shimmer of aurora overhead. An elder in Qaanaaq remembers learning to track time by the phases of the moon, not the sun, because for much of the year the sun offers no clue. The island's latitude stretches from about 60 to 83 degrees north, which means the further north you go, the more extreme the cycle becomes. In the far north, the polar night and the midnight sun are not just curiosities, they shape the rhythm mess of hunting, the timing of festivals, and the patterns of daily life. This world of endless light and endless darkness is as much a part of Greenland's geography as its ice and stone. In the late 10th century, Ubaidantris, a Norwegian outlaw named Eric the Red sailed west, searching for a new home after exile from Iceland. What he found was a rocky, ice-fringed coastline and narrow green valleys in the far south of a vast, unclaimed island. According to the Icelandic sagas, Eric named this place Grönland, Greenland, hoping the promise of fertile land would lure settlers across the sea. Around 985 AD, his gamble paid off. Norse farmers arrived, building turf houses and stone churches in two main settlements along the southwestern fjords. For nearly 5 centuries, these colonists raised sheep and cattle, harvested hay, and carved out a European outpost at the edge of the Arctic. At their peak, the Norse numbered perhaps 2,000 or 3,000, leaving behind ruins that still dot the landscape today. Yet the name was always more hope than reality. Greenland's brief green summers could never hide the fact that this was a land ruled by ice mammals, not grass. Over time, as climate cooled and isolation deepened, the Norse communities faded away, leaving only their weathered stones and the enduring question of why anyone believed this place could ever be truly green. Long before Norse ships reached these coasts, families adapted to Greenland's extremes for at least 4,500 years. Archaeological traces show people thriving here, weathering cycles of cold and scarcity that would have driven most away. The ancestors of today's Greenlandic Inuit, descendants of the Thule culture, brought with them a toolkit honed for survival in the Arctic. The kayak, built from driftwood and seal skins, is nimble enough to hunt seals in icy waters. The umiak is a larger open boat for families and cargo. The dog sled remains vital for winter travel across frozen sea. These inventions, paired with a deep knowledge of ice, weather, and animal behaviour, allowed communities to flourish where others could not. Today, about 88% of Greenland's people are Inuit, or of mixed Inuit-Danish heritage. The Greenlandic language, Kalaallisut, is spoken in homes, schools and parliament, and it is one of the few indigenous Arctic languages still thriving. In the words of an elder from Sisimiut, every journey across sea ice is a lesson passed from one generation to the next, a living thread connecting the present to thousands of years of Arctic life. Greenland charts its own course within the Danish realm, wielding a degree of autonomy rare for a territory of its kind. The foundation was laid in 1979, when Denmark passed the Home Rule Act, granting Greenland control over its internal affairs. This was expanded in 2009 through the Self-Government Act, following a referendum where 3/4 of Greenlanders voted in favour. Today, Greenland's parliament, Inatsisartut, sets laws on education, health, natural resources and more. The government in Nuuk manages everything from fisheries to taxation, while Denmark retains authority over foreign policy, defence and currency. Greenland keeps all revenue from its mineral and resource development, though a fixed block grant from Denmark still supports public spending. If resource income ever exceeds a certain threshold, Danish support is reduced. Greenlanders elect their own leaders and send 2 representatives to the Danish Parliament, ensuring a voice in both local and national matters. The legal framework recognises Greenlanders as a people with the right to self-determination, and the path to independence remains open, should they ever choose to take it. Greenland stands at the front line of a changing climate. Over the past 2 decades, satellites from the GRACE and GRACE-FO missions have weighed the island's ice sheet from orbit, capturing a relentless trend, an average loss of about 270 billion tonnes of ice every year. This is not a slow drift, it is a dramatic acceleration compared to the late 20th century. In the 1990s, net losses were measured in tens of billions of tonnes per year. By the 2010s, annual losses had soared to more than 250 billion tonnes. Then came 2019, a year that stunned scientists. That summer, an estimated 532 billion tonnes of ice vanished, more than double the long-term average. In just 1 year, Greenland added roughly 1.5 millimeters to global sea levels. According to the National Snow and Ice Data Centre, graphs of ice mass loss now trace a steep downward slope, with each year outpacing the last. This rapid melt is powered by warming that is hitting Greenland at about twice the global average rate. What was once a slow, ancient process has become a race, measured in real time, with consequences for every coastline on Earth. High above the Arctic Circle, a stretch of barren tundra hosts one of the most strategic outposts in the Northern Hemisphere. Thule Air Base, established by the United States in the early 1950s, sits on Greenland's northwest coast, closer to the North Pole than to New York or Copenhagen. Its location is no accident. Thule's radar systems and missile detection arrays keep watch over polar routes, tracking anything that might cross from Eurasia toward North America. The base remains a linchpin in the defence networks of the United States and NATO. Its presence a reminder that Greenland's vast emptiness is anything but ignored by world powers. But military interest is only part of the story. As Arctic sea ice retreats, Greenland's mineral wealth is drawing new attention. Beneath the ice and rock, geologists have mapped significant deposits of rare earth elements, uranium, and other minerals vital for modern technology. The Quanasut site in southern Greenland contains one of the world's largest known concentrations of rare earths, a resource that could reshape global supply chains. Mining proposals have triggered fierce debate in Greenland's parliament, pitting hopes for economic independence against fears of environmental damage and radioactive waste. In 2019, Greenland's strategic value made global headlines when the President of the United States publicly floated the idea of buying the island. The suggestion was swiftly rejected by both Denmark and Greenlandic leaders, who insisted that Greenland is not for sale. Yet the episode underscored a deeper reality. As the Arctic changes, Greenland's geography is transforming from remote wilderness into a focal point for military, economic, and political ambitions. In the far northeast of Greenland lies a wilderness so vast it defies easy comparison. Northeast Greenland National Park covers 972,000 square kilometres, an expanse larger than most countries, stretching from the interior ice to the Arctic Ocean. There are no cities, no towns, not even villages within its borders. Only a handful of research stations and the Sirius Dog Sled Patrol pass through, along with the rare visit from Inuit hunters granted a special permission. Here, the landscape is a mosaic of ice caps, rocky Nunatak, and endless tundra, broken by deep fjords and the frozen sea. This park is home to some of the Arctic's most iconic wildlife. Muskoken roam in herds across the open plains, their shaggy coats built for the cold. Polar bears patrol the sea ice, following the movements of seals and narwhals along the coast. Arctic foxes dart between rocks, while snowy owls and millions of seabirds nest on remote cliffs. The silence is broken only by the wind and the distant calls of wildlife. Few places on Earth remain so untouched. Northeast Greenland National Park stands as a reminder of what true wilderness looks like, a place where nature, not people, sets the rules. In a world where every patch of land seems claimed or contested, this frozen expanse endures, unbroken and immense. Greenland's vast, ice-bound heart holds 7 metres of future sea level, enough to redraw every coastline on Earth. As warming accelerates and nations eye its resources, the fate of this remote island will ripple across the globe. What happens here isn't distant or abstract. It's a test of our ability to recognise and respond to a world that's changing beneath our feet. What would you do if the ice was melting in your backyard?